The Epistle of Jude, often shortened to Jude, is the next to last book of the New Testament and is attributed to Jude, the servant of Jesus and the brother of James the Just. Composition. The letter of Jude was one of the disputed books of the canon. Although its canonical status was contested, its authenticity was never doubted by the early church. The links between the epistle and 2 Peter, its use of the apocryphal books, and its brevity raised concern. It is one of the shortest books in the Bible, being only 25 verses long. Content. Jude urges his readers to defend the deposit of Christ's doctrine that had been closed by the time he wrote his epistle, and to remember the words of the apostle spoken somewhat before. Jude then asks the reader to recall how even after the Lord saved his own people out of the land of Egypt, he did not hesitate to destroy those who fell into unbelief, much as he punished the angels who fell from their original exalted status in Sodom and Gomorrah. Jude quotes directly from the Book of Enoch, part of the scripture of the Ethiopian and Eritrean churches but rejected by other churches. He cites Enoch's prophecy that the Lord would come with many thousands of his saints to render judgment on the whole world. He also paraphrases, verse 9, an incident in a text that has been lost about Satan and Michael the archangel quarreling over the body of Moses. Outline. Canonical status. The Epistle of Jude is held as canonical in the Christian Church. Conservative scholars date it between 70 and 90. Some scholars consider the letter a pseudonymous work written between the end of the 1st century and the first quarter of the 2nd century because of its references to the apostles. More remarkable is the evidence that by the end of the 2nd century Jude was widely accepted as canonical. Quote, authorship. The epistle title is written as follows: Jude, a servant of Jesus Christ and brother of James. NRSV. There is a dispute as to whether brother means someone who has the same father and mother, or a half-brother or cousin or more distant familial relationship. This dispute over the true meaning of brother grew as the doctrine of the virgin birth evolved. The debate has continued over the author's identity as the apostle, the brother of Jesus, both, or neither. Some scholars have argued that since the author of the letter has not identified himself as an apostle and actually refers to the apostles as a third party, he cannot be identified with the Jude who is listed as one of the 12, and, in the Gospel of Luke, is explicitly identified as being as of James. Style. The Epistle of Jude is a brief book of only a single chapter with 25 verses. It was composed as an encyclical letter, that is, one not directed to the members of one church in particular, but intended rather to be circulated and read in all churches. The form, as opposed to the earlier letters of Paul, suggests that the author knew Paul's epistle to the Ephesians or even that the Pauline epistles had already been collected and were circulating when the text was written. The wording and syntax of this epistle in its original Greek demonstrates that the author was capable and fluent. The epistle is addressed to Christians in general. The epistle style is combative, impassioned, and rushed. Many examples of evildoers and warnings about their fates are given in rapid succession. The epithets contained in this writing are considered. The epistle concludes with a doxology, which is considered by Peter H. Davids to be one of the highest in quality contained in the Bible. Jude and 2 Peter. Part of Jude is very similar to 2 Peter, mainly 2 Peter chapter 2, so much so that most scholars agree that there is a dependence between the two, i.e., that either one letter used the other directly, or they both drew on a common source. Because this epistle is much shorter than 2 Peter, and due to various stylistic details, some writers consider Jude the source for the similar passages of 2 Peter. Some scholars who consider Jude to predate 2 Peter note that the latter appears to quote the former, but excises the reference to the non-canonical Book of Enoch.